This is a story about a long rivalry between two of Europe's most iconic car makers. Alfa Romeo, the Italian automaker that has produced some of the most iconic driver-focused cars that have set high standards of handling capabilities in road cars, while pushing the boundaries of automotive design, making some of the most stylish and attractive cars of all time. And BMW, the German car maker that has been able to lead the standards of innovation within many fields of the automotive industry, whilst introducing some of the highest performing road cars of all time. I'll be breaking down each decade of their rivalry, analyzing their key achievements, and determining which brand came out on top in each era. The rivalry between these two automotive giants can be traced back to the mid-1930s, when Alfa Romeo was one of Europe's most prestigious automakers. Their 6C range of stylish, inline-six powered sports cars represented the pinnacle of engineering and performance in the region. However, in 1936, BMW, then a much smaller company, introduced the BMW 328, their first true entry into the luxury sports car market. The 328 was an instant success, featuring an inline-six engine and a lightweight body that delivered exceptional handling on the racetrack. For the first time, the Alfa Romeo 6C had met its match, a rivalry that would be put to the test in the next decade. But before that, the Alfa Romeo 6C would still remain the top prestigious road car. The Mille Miglia was one of the most dangerous races in European motorsport, a grueling 1,000-mile open-road endurance event across Italy. Alfa Romeo had long been one of the most dominant teams in this prestigious race. The 1940 Mille Miglia was among the most controversial editions in history. It marked the event's return after a one-year hiatus, as the 1939 race had been canceled by Mussolini following a tragic accident in 1938, where an incident involving the Lancia team resulted in the deaths of 11 spectators. By 1940, Italy was on the brink of entering World War II, making this the last Mille Miglia for many years. The competition was fierce, featuring the debut of Enzo Ferrari in this event, alongside the return of the BMW 328. This time, Alfa Romeo entered with the 6C instead of the 8C, placing them in direct competition with BMW. After a full day of intense racing, BMW emerged victorious, securing first place, while Alfa Romeo finished a close second, a defining moment in their growing rivalry. During World War II, both Alfa Romeo and BMW shifted their focus to engineering efforts in support of their respective countries' war machines. However, when the Axis powers lost the war in 1945, both companies found themselves in dire straits. Their priorities were no longer about producing high-end automobiles, but simply finding ways to survive. By the mid-1950s, both brands had started to re-establish themselves and were ready to compete once again. In 1955, Alfa Romeo introduced the Giulietta, a platform that would define their post-war resurgence. It debuted as both a four-door family saloon and a convertible roadster, with the latter quickly making a name for itself at the top of the roadster segment. However, just a year later, in 1956, BMW introduced the 507, a stunning V8-powered roadster that instantly stole the spotlight. The 507 not only showcased BMW's engineering prowess, but also positioned the brand at a higher status than Alfa Romeo in the luxury roadster market. By the time Alfa Romeo responded with their own high-end convertible, the 2600 Spyder, it was already the early 1960s, and the BMW 507 had already completed its production run. Overall, the 1950s were a much more triumphant time for BMW, as they already had a full range of cars in multiple categories, whilst Alfa Romeo were still yet to fully establish themselves in the luxury segment. In the 1960s, both Alfa Romeo and BMW were back in full force, though they largely focused on different segments of the market. Alfa Romeo concentrated on sporty road cars, while BMW devoted its efforts to developing luxury grand tourers. However, in 1962, their paths crossed once again as both brands introduced compact executive saloons that would redefine their identities. Alfa Romeo debuted the Giulia, a sharp-handling sports sedan that combined practicality with the brand's racing pedigree, while BMW launched the new Class series, marking the company's shift towards sportier, driver-focused saloons. Both cars were massive successes, laying the foundation for future icons. The Giulia would influence generations of Alfa sports sedans, while the new Class set the stage for what would eventually become the legendary BMW 3 Series. These models didn't just define their respective brands, but also established the modern blueprint for sports saloons in Europe. With both cars excelling in their own right and shaping the industry for decades to come, declaring a winner for this decade would be nearly impossible. By the 1970s, Alfa Romeo and BMW had firmly established themselves as direct competitors across multiple segments, including the performance GT market, where the Alfa Romeo Montreal took on the BMW 3.0 CSI. However, the true highlight of their rivalry in this decade was the battle between the Alfa Romeo GTV 2000 and the BMW 2002 Ti. Both were compact, stylish coupes powered by 2-liter inline-4 engines, paired with 5-speed manual transmissions and rear-wheel drive layouts. Weighing just under 1,050 kilograms and producing 130 horsepower, these cars were remarkably well matched on paper. Despite their similarities, the Alfa Romeo GTV 2000 is often regarded as the more exhilarating of the two, praised for its sharper driving dynamics, responsive chassis, and a more charismatic engine. Beyond this head-to-head battle, Alfa Romeo also introduced several innovative models throughout the decade, further strengthening its position in the industry. With a more engaging lineup and a standout sports coupe that outshone its rival, Alfa Romeo likely edged out BMW as the winner of the 1970s, securing its reputation as a brand that prioritized passion, performance, and driving enjoyment. In the 1980s, Alfa Romeo made a commendable effort to compete with BMW across multiple segments. The Alfa Romeo 6 took on the BMW 7 Series, the Alfetta rivaled the BMW 5 Series, and the Giulietta went up against the BMW 3 Series, among others. However, despite their strong lineup, Alfa Romeo struggled with a growing reputation for rust issues and reliability concerns, which led many buyers to favor BMW and other alternatives. As a result, the company experienced a sharp decline in sales, ultimately pushing them into financial turmoil. By the end of the decade, Alfa Romeo was on the brink of bankruptcy, leading to its acquisition by Fiat, marking a major turning point in the brand's history. In the 1990s, BMW continued to enjoy strong sales, while Alfa Romeo, now under Fiat ownership, was making a slow but steady comeback. However, the true peak of their rivalry during this decade came in 1993 on the racetrack in the DTM Championship, one of the most competitive and technologically advanced touring car series in history. DTM had long been dominated by German manufacturers such as Opel, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, and BMW, the latter having been a key player since the series' rise in the mid-1980s. But in 1993, Alfa Romeo shocked the motorsport world by entering the competition with their 1.5 5V6 Ti, a high-tech all-wheel drive V6-powered sedan. Not only did Alfa Romeo challenge BMW on their home turf, but shifting the spotlight away from the German brand's previous success. With Alfa Romeo stealing the show, BMW withdrew from DTM, marking a rare but decisive victory for the Italian marque in one of Germany's most prestigious racing series. By the 2000s, Alfa Romeo was back in action, reigniting its rivalry with the German automakers, particularly BMW. The two brands competed head-to-head in nearly every segment, from hatchbacks to sedans, grand tourers, and sports coupes. At the entry level, Alfa Romeo introduced the 147 to take on BMW's newly launched 1 Series. Both hatchbacks were evenly matched across their base and top trims, offering similar performance figures. In the sports sedan segment, the battle intensified. In the early 2000s, the Alfa Romeo 156 went up against the BMW E46 3 Series, of which was a battle that was even taken onto the racetrack. As from 2000 to 2004, Alfa Romeo and BMW were both competing in the intense European Touring Car Championship, where Alfa Romeo would dominate the competition in 2001, 2002, and 2003. However, Alfa Romeo's success on the racetrack against BMW failed to spill onto their sales success, as the brand's lingering reputation for poor build quality and reliability issues meant that BMW ultimately dominated in sales and brand reputation throughout the 2000s. During the first half of the 2010s, the rivalry between Alfa Romeo and BMW seemed to take a brief pause. Alfa Romeo's lineup was limited, with only the Giulietta hatchback offering mild competition to the BMW 1 Series, while the Alfa Romeo 4C was aimed more at rivals like the Porsche Cayman and Lotus Elise rather than BMW. Meanwhile, BMW continued to dominate the sports saloon segment, with the 3 Series remaining one of the most popular executive cars on the market. That all changed in 2015, when Alfa Romeo made a dramatic comeback with the launch of the Giulia, a stunning sports saloon that immediately captured attention in the segment. A year later, Alfa expanded its reach with the Stelvio, an SUV that shook up the performance luxury crossover market. The rivalry was truly reignited at the high-performance level, where BMW's F80 M3 faced off against Alfa Romeo's Giulia Quadrifoglio. With class-leading handling, a powerful Ferrari-derived twin-turbo V6, and a more engaging driving experience, the Giulia Quadrifoglio was widely considered the superior saloon in this matchup. However, when looking at the decade as a whole, BMW's consistent sales dominance and wider model range ensured its continued commercial success. While Alfa Romeo delivered a stunning return to form, it wasn't quite enough to take the overall decade. In the first half of the 2020s, the rivalry between Alfa Romeo and BMW has remained fierce. However, with Alfa Romeo facing challenges under its parent company, Stellantis, the brand has entered another difficult period, giving BMW the upper hand in this nearly century-long competition. That said, the decade is far from over. Alfa Romeo has a history of making dramatic comebacks, proving time and again that it can rise from adversity. Only time will tell what the future holds for both companies, but as long as they continue to produce cars, their rivalry will live on.